Okay, so I remember when I first learned how to drive, and I was about 17 at the time. And to be honest, I wasn't a very good driver. Like, I really took a long time to learn. Um, I just don't have the right kind of brain for it. I was very sort of, yeah, I wasn't a very good student in that regard. And I had this driving instructor who was really old school. Like he was kind of ex RAF pilot kind of thing, and yeah, it was just quite old school in the way he taught me basically. And he used to get so angry at me. Like I remember, like I'd make some mistake, and to be fair, whatever, it might be a bad mistake that I've made, but he'd just get so pissed off at me. Like start shouting at me and just taking the piss out of me sometimes. You know, one thing that really stuck with me is I remember he'd say this to me. He'd be like, "There's always something with you, isn't there? There's always something with you." You know, I still have his voice in my head saying that. Um, and I just had all this scolding at me while I was trying to learn to drive, and I just put up with it. I just accepted it. I just let him speak to me like that, and I look back on a lot of times in my life, and it's the exact same kind of thing. Not just letting people walk all over me, you know. And there's this kind of idea that you shouldn't respond to someone being aggressive to you because it's just a bad reflection on them. But the truth is, those kind of situations when you don't stand up for yourself, you just feel like a little bitch basically. And yeah, just so much of my life was like that. Just accepting people disrespecting me. Um, and I remember one time where I was just cycling back from university, and it was quite rainy. It was dark. It was kind of November time. This is about a year ago, and I was just cycling down this long road to Levenshulme, in Manchester, and I was just going down this one road that just basically got you all the way back to Levenshulme from the university, and like I say, it was raining, it was dark, and to be honest, like I probably wasn't cycling very safely. Like I wasn't wearing any high vis stuff like that, and I can't remember if we stopped at traffic light or something, but I remember I stopped, and this car pulled out in front of me, and the guy turned the windows down, and he just shouted at me. He was like, "What the hell are you doing? Not wearing any like, you fluorescent stuff. Some like safety stuff so people can see you. Driving, cycling unsafely, stuff like that." And he was just shouting. He's getting quite rude, and I just something inside me just kind of snaps. And I just turned around to him and I was like, "Fuck off," and I just cycled off. Now, on reflection, it wasn't a very classy move of me to do that, and I don't know what was happening in that guy's life. For all I know, he might have just got divorced, a family member might have died, and he's just in a shitty mood, and I've just told him to fuck off, whatever. And to be honest, he was in the right to have a grievance with me, at least, you know. But something inside me just snaps. I was just like, I don't care. You just can't speak to me like that, And I'll be lying, I can say it was, it wasn't very classy, whatever, but at the end of the day, it felt good. It felt good to cycle off thinking, even in the most, immature way possible, I still stuck up for myself there. I remember another time where the same thing happened, where I was working in a nightclub, and I was basically we had like these beers that we'd sell at this nightclub, and it wasn't a very like classy nightclub, so you just get a tin of beer and just pour it into a glass, no, not a glass, like a plastic cup. And I remember one guy came up and he like asked for a beer, and it was a busy queue, so obviously I was quite unconscious about it, and I was a bit clumsy. I just poured him like a beer with like quite a lot of head on it. And to be fair, like I get that, that's a bit annoying, whatever. Um, anyway, I gave it to him, and he was like, "Oh mate, I'm not drinking that." And I was like, "Mate, there's a big queue. Like, just get on with it." And like I say, maybe he did have a justification have a grievance. But there was something about his tone that I found really annoying and so disrespectful. And he was there with this girl, so obviously he was trying to show off in front of her and stuff. And he just kept labouring the point. It was like, "Look, mate, I'm not drinking that. I'm not drinking that. Make another one for me." And again, just something inside me snapped. I was like, "Look, mate, just fuck off, alright?" And again, not very classy of me. Not very, there could have been so much better ways that I could have dealt with that. But again, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel good. I'd be lying if I said I don't look back at that experience and kind of smile at myself. Because, like, yeah, some little kid who was like 16 years old, I don't know how he got into the club, must have had some fake ID, obviously. This dweeby little kid just tried to disrespect me, and I just told him to fuck off, And it's kind of a good feeling, And what I've realised is, like, the likelihood is, like me, I just think you've probably been brainwashed to think that you shouldn't stand up for people, for yourself, like, if people are being rude to you. And I really disagree. I think it's really important, if not for yourself, for the sake of other people, I remember another time, like quite recently, where a salesman phoned up and asked for my boss's number, and I knew I could tell he was a salesman, like subconsciously I knew he was a salesman, but he was just being so sort of assertive, so that I just kind of went along with it, and in the end I almost gave him my boss's number, and I thought, like, oh, that's so silly of me, and if I'd been more able to stand up for myself, I wouldn't have potentially compromised my boss's, his peace of mind, because some random salesman calls him up. So if you're not going to learn to stick up for yourself, for yourself, at least do it to stick up for other people. Because the truth is, if you don't learn to stick up for yourself, people can like you, people will love you, but they won't really respect you, and they won't really want to trust you with stuff. They won't really rely on you to, like, get the job done. If you're not prepared to, like, when there's a line that someone's crossed, you don't have it, I just think we all got brainwashed as kids to have this kind of thing of, like, oh, turn the other cheek, and just don't. If someone's rude, then it's on them, that kind of thing. And it's like, it's such a, like, low testosterone way of thinking about the world. And, like, with all these examples that I've said, there are legitimate grievances that these people have had against me. I probably was driving unsafely. I probably was, that there was too much head in the beer. There was, whatever it is. But you lose my sort of reasonableness when you speak to me like that. I think you should lose. I don't think you have the right to be reasonable with someone, even if their grievance is reasonable. if they start shouting at you straight off the bat, or just at all, to be honest. It's not how you speak to another person. And yeah, you just, if you don't learn to stick up for yourself in these kind of situations, you just feel like such a pussy. Like, honestly, I think there's one thing that increases your testosterone, it's not sunlight, it's not getting 8 hours of sleep, it's not any of this shit. It's just learning to stick up for yourself when people are aggressive to you, when people are rude towards you. Yeah, I just think it's so key. Yeah, I just remember when I used to work in retail, like in a supermarket, and people just had this same attitude of like, oh, customer is king, don't be rude to a customer kind of thing. And they'd, if you got a lot of people in the supermarket who are like really rude, and if you worked in hospitality or retail or whatever, like, you'll know this experience. Like, people really can be really rude to you. And what my boss would always say is like, oh yeah, just rise above it, whatever. But good, because in a sense that incentivizes profits. If you're rude to someone, even if you're justified in being rude, you shouldn't. You want to save the company money. You don't want someone to get a bad idea about the co-op because you were rude to them or something like that. But I slightly think like there comes a point where you've got to think of something more than the profits, and it's just like, it doesn't matter if there's a problem here. You got to treat me like a human being, I remember like some of my bosses, they just take so much shit on the tills. Like, people would be so rude to them, and they'd just say nothing. They just sit there and take it, and then they'd go back to the office and sort of bitch about them, as if that made up for like how they were being spoken to. And it's like, no, you got to hold the people themselves accountable. Yeah, I remember another time where I was working door-to-door sales, and looking back on door-to-door sales, I get it, like, it is a bit dodgy. People do get angry with you, whatever. But I remember one time where someone opened the door, and it was me and this other girl that I was with, and this guy just started swearing at us and just getting really aggressive, and yeah, like the girl just did all this shit that like we were taught in the training, like, oh, don't worry, sorry, just being really nice to this guy. And I was like, no, this guy's, I don't care if I've ruined his day because he's come to the door, like, you can't get aggressive like this. And I just said, like, mate, just don't get rude, and then you just shut the door and whatever. But and my friend who I was with, was like, oh no, you shouldn't do that, the customer is king, kind of thing. Just rise above it. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, if you're gonna be that rude, like, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. Like, there was a second where I was worried he was gonna like start, getting violent or something. And it's like, like I say, I get it. Door-to-door sales is a bit dodgy. I don't do it anymore. But again, there's a point where you shouldn't speak to other people like that. And I just looked at my friend in that scenario, and I just thought she just looked like such a wimp for not. There was someone literally like threatening to get violent, and she was just like, oh, don't worry, sorry, kind of thing. And it's just like, do you have any self-respect for yourself? Yeah. So, moral of the story really is just, you gotta learn how to stick up for yourself. It's the biggest boost to your sense of pride and other people's sense of respect to you. And the real message is, because I think, I do think I'm quite a reasonable guy, and I do take other people's grievances quite seriously against me. But just to really sum up the story of this video, like, it doesn't matter if the grievance is legitimate. You've still got to they've still got to express it in like a reasonable way. Otherwise, they don't deserve your respect, or you being nice to them, you know. And it goes both ways, you know. If I have a grievance with someone, like, I don't know, if someone next door is making a lot of noise and I want to go to sleep, if I bang on the door and get really aggressive at them, you know, that's not on. It doesn't matter if they're playing music, like, you know, yeah, still they shouldn't be playing music, whatever. It's too loud. Like I do have a legitimate grievance there, but I lose it if I start getting aggressive, and they would be in their right, even though they're initially in the wrong, just to be like, yeah, just to fight back, you know, to not to be a doormat. If I go over there and be really nice about it, then they're aggressive to me, then we can talk, then we can have a discussion, then that's difficult. They're still in the wrong, you know. But the thing is, like, you just gotta speak to other people like they're human beings. And I just think if they don't, and everyone's had this experience where they're not spoken to like a human being, where they're spoken to like they're a dog, like they're a slave, you know, like this big, you know, and when that happens to you, you just can't have it. It's just not on, you know. We can't speak to each other like that. And the self-respect you'll feel is amazing. Honestly, I don't want to give people like bad advice here, but I honestly think like that's the one time when you just can kind of let yourself flip out. Like so many of these times, like I kind of flipped out. You know, I kind of just got really aggressive and just something just snaps. And it's not ideal, but I still feel better about myself for having flipped out in that way. You know, and I'm glad I just sort of instinctively just told someone to fuck off than like I didn't do anything. You know, even though you're told all your life, oh, don't be angry, don't be aggressive, like that. It's just so wrong. It's just so wrong. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. As always, top link in the description. If you want to get some one-on-one coaching, it'd be great for you to join us. And we'll see you in the next one.